So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the Aurum feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Mashiach laid waste for many centuries. As we read it in Yeshayahu the prophet, it's extremely important lining up sections of Yeshayahu with Daniel when it relates with the layers of information of Gentile and also Yod-He Vav-He's people. So then later on in Revelation, or then Galah, then the structuring of the autumn feast can be established. So then today came out very important information. The very reliable British newspaper named the Briggs Post obviously relates with the new system led by China. But this point in time, the conversation is not regarding China. It is related with the Northern Kingdom and the military power of this Kingdom of the North. As it was said before many times, the Soviets are going to take on the daunting task of making sure the market of arms around the world is then provided with high quality and inexpensive equipment. So then it was mentioned before that the Soviets then are obviously involved with the protection of the Chinese system. So today came out a very important information regarding the S-400 rocketry system and the Indian military capability. So then, since India is part of the new system, the BRICS, obviously, as it was said before, as only a confirmation that the armies of the Kingdom of the North then is expanding itself, and they are arming the Indian country. Now, this is not surprising because as we read then from Daniel, the 11th chapter, we find then later on the Kingdom of the North coming with much equipment. So it's already proving itself very precisely that this Kingdom of the North is truly engaging itself in becoming as per the order of Yod-He Vav-He Galah through his prophet. You find then the Kingdom of the North becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. But it doesn't stop there. This system that obviously is sold by the Soviets, they are also involved with Egypt. Now the situation is, as it was said before, Egypt is going to be the gathering place of the sons of Ishmael as per the instructions. So then the news coming from this particular article states Egypt and the Soviet Union to hold the first joint military maneuver. So then it's showing us very precisely sections of the holy instructions becoming absolutely precise truth. Then there is the Egyptian military spokesperson on Wednesday that Egypt will to be hosting the Soviet military and will participate in a 9 days joint military exercise along the Med coast this month. So then the Soviets are starting arming these great countries. So as it was then said before, as per the instructions of Daniel, it is taking place before our very eyes as we read then the latest news. So then it's given us quite a bit of information, because the exercise named Protectors of Friendship is the first of its kind from amongst these nations, and focus on deployment of soldiers, equipment, and vehicles, and the exchange of experiences amongst them. The Egyptian state media reported it will take place in the coastal city of El Alamein, the city of historic combat from the British and German forces during the time of the Second World War. So then, because of the importance of this topic, you can be absolutely sure, as per the instructions of Daniel, as far as the sons of Ishmael thronging each other, this means at this point in time ISIL is very fragmented. But as the Soviet Union is then organizing itself and making sure that the equipment is inexpensive yet high quality, after Egypt is then trained and armed by the Soviets, and during this time the sons of Ishmael, they're going to start organizing themselves, and the rendezvous point is Egypt. So then the best situation is simply waiting until this information comes. As it was said before many times, as per the instructions of Daniel, precisely, not very far from the time that it was spoken, truly the information became available. So then, what can we understand as far as then the Hamashiach ben Yosef, or Yod He Vav He, in his function of Yeshua? What was he saying then in Mechicheyahu, the 24th chapter? These instructions truly gives us hope regarding the validity of these manuscripts. It's absolutely very comforting having these holy instructions, because it is giving us a step-by-step formation of these kingdoms and the development of information. Now, not only this, sometimes you don't find every piece of information related with a certain event, but because of the validity of the reflected prophecies from Daniel, from Ezekiel, from Yeshayahu and Yirmiyahu, the information also related with the step-by-step until reaches the autumn feast, most of it is also given via the other prophets. So it is an absolutely fantastic study. It is truly giving us a hope and understanding that these holy instructions are true. So the Hamashiach ben Yosef, when he was speaking regarding then Metchiyahu, the 24th chapter, he was then directing his people regarding the autumn feast. Now, not only this, but the Mashiach, he made a very important point when he was talking of tabernacling and the Gentile world. Because the Hamashiach ben Yosef, when he was talking and giving understanding related with the holy instructions, was Yod He Vav He speaking through him. Now the problem of these days is people, they think they hear from the divine and sometimes they don't. Now how people back during the time of the Hamashiach, how people perceived that the presence of Yod He Vav He was in his life. There are some steps of formation and understandings, so then the divine speaks with his people. How do we perceive when he is speaking? Each of us should ask this question. But when we are related and engaged in studying his holy instructions, then we begin to understand a great deal of his character. So then the Hamashiach ben Yosef is speaking of the future. He is precisely directing the people towards the autumn feast. So then the natural fact is, since the Hamashiach ben Yosef is pointing towards the autumn feast, so the content of the autumn feast should be studied. So then later on we're going to evaluate more of this information related with Mitzrayim, because this truly is our first glimpse of the restructuring of Egypt. Now Daniel 11 states very precisely that Egypt won't be as they were in a spiritual level as they were before. This spiritual level won't ever be reached. But it does speak of maintaining a portion of what they were, but then becoming this military influence where then the sons of Ishmael are going to reorganize themselves. Because of the natural lineage of Hagar and Abraham, we then find ourselves making sure we understand the importance of half of the anointing that came from the relationship of Abraham and his first wife Hagar. The sons of Ishmael, they have half of the anointing for a very specific reason. So as Yitzhak, there came the promise of tabernacling. But Ishmael also has a very important role. The sons of Ishmael, they teach how to do trade via the character of Yod He Vav He. Now the objective was not only this, but because of the contact with Abraham taught his first son how to deal with these situations. And as he was directing him, and the divine was directing Abraham, obviously you understand a transfer of character. And then they would act in a trade as they received the teachings from Abraham. Next time I'm going to evaluate more of this information, so please stay tuned, much more coming up.